Hello, you, the one who's listening right now. Maybe you're not here by accident, because there are some Aries out there who don't need to scream, don't need to prove a thing, don't need revenge. They just show up. And somehow, those who wrong them begin to fall apart on their own. It's not magic, it's not a curse. It's just that. Some souls were born to be karma, with 2 feet and a heartbeat. And if you are one of those Aries, or if you've ever orbited close to someone like that, stay, because this story is yours. We begin with those who never start a war but somehow make the whole world shift when they walk through. Some people walk into your life, not to change you, not to stay forever, but simply to reflect something you've been avoiding. They come like a mirror, clear, silent, and impossible to ignore. They don't argue, they don't demand, they don't raise their voice, they just show up. And the moment they do, something inside you begins to shift, quietly, deeply. That's the kind of person I want to tell you about today. A very different kind of Aries, not loud, not angry, not looking to prove a point, but somehow everything around them loses its ability to lie because truth lives in their eyes. It radiates through their presence, in the way they see you, as if they already know something you're not ready to face. No one teaches them to be karma. They didn't choose it, it's just that. Their light is too honest, and honest light can't look away from darkness. I once met someone like that. She was an Aries, strong on the outside, calm, rarely spoke about her emotions, but sitting next to her, I saw parts of myself I had spent years avoiding. I saw the fake smiles, the carefully crafted words, the insecurity behind my so-called confidence. I don't know how, but around her, I couldn't pretend anymore, and I understood she didn't need to punish anyone. Her presence alone made everything false collapse. There was no anger in her eyes, only silence. The kind of silence that holds up a mirror to your soul. That kind of Aries doesn't need to fight to bring justice. The universe does it for them, not because they curse you, but because their energy refuses to let untruth survive for long. They are the kind of people you hurt, and then fall apart on your own, not because of magic, but because, when you turn your back on the light, you trip over the shadow you created. Some call them walking karma, but really, they're just mirrors too clear, too direct, too real, and that kind of clarity scares people, not because Aries are cruel, but because they can't be fooled, they can't be bought, they can't be blinded by sweet words or half-truths. Their honesty is like an atmosphere, you can't breathe in it if you're carrying deception. People often say Aries are hot-headed, impulsive, but for this kind of Aries, what's truly intense is not their rage, it's their silence. A silence that makes you question yourself. They come like fire, not the kind that burns everything down, but the kind that warms or reveals what must go. It depends on what you bring to them, and the truth is, people like this are rare. They're misunderstood, often unseen, but they exist to keep this world from collapsing entirely into falsehood. They don't preach, they don't lecture, they simply live in truth, and truth, when it shines bright enough, pushes everything untrue to the shadows. If you've ever met an Aries like this, you'll never forget them, and if you are one of them, maybe you've grown used to being misunderstood, to being abandoned, to being called too much or too blunt. But please don't change your essence. This world needs you, more than you know. We need souls who won't bow down, who won't wear a mask, who won't shrink just to make others comfortable. You weren't born to be applauded. You were born to keep truth alive, to keep karma on its path. And sometimes I wonder, what is it inside these Aries that makes the universe intervene when they are wronged? Could it be there's a layer of energy we can't see with the human eye? Maybe the answer lies in the softest part of them, the most sacred, the most often dismissed, the part the world calls too sensitive, but the universe calls holy. That place is their divine sensitivity, and that's where we're going next. Not with our feet, but with our hearts, to touch the part few have seen, but where all karmic ripples begin, when you stand before a truly awakened Aries. No one would guess that underneath the fiery, impulsive, fierce armor of an Aries lies a layer so sensitive, it hears things never spoken, not with the ears, but with the soul. They don't need you to explain why you're sad. The moment you walk into the room, they already feel the rain behind your smile. Not every Aries is like this, but those born with karmic energy often carry a kind of hyper-attunement that science hasn't yet found words for. I call it sacred intuition. A frequency so rare only God knows what they went through in past lives. to now walk with invisible wings and a radar that never stops scanning the emotions of the world around them. They're not weak or overly emotional. They're deeply awake enough to see what's coming before it even reaches the physical world. But imagine this. You live in a world that never stops, loud, restless, spinning, and you feel every wave of emotion even when no one invites you in. Would you call that a gift, or the most delicate punishment God ever wrapped in light? I once asked an Aries like this, how do you know when someone's truly hurting and when they're just pretending? She just paused, then quietly said, because I've tasted that kind of pain before, so when someone else carries it, I recognize it right away. You see, they're not sensitive because of biology. They're empathetic because they've walked that road, with blood, tears, and prayers whispered in the darkest night. They are souls who have knelt before God, not asking for glory, but begging, please let me keep my heart, no matter how much this world tries to break it. And God did, but He also gave them a heart that cannot lie and a body that feels everything, even when they wish it wouldn't. When others feel anger, this Aries feels the hidden hurt underneath. When others celebrate success, they hear the quiet ache of loneliness behind the smile. They can't turn it off like others, because they are on call for the soul of this world. A job with no holidays, no clocking out. So sometimes they step back, not because they're weak, but because their body can't bear the endless stream of emotional data, pouring in through every sense, like a psychic lost in a crowded market. No one calls their name, but every soul is silently broadcasting signals. They live with a level of awareness that most don't understand, and what we don't understand, we tend to label too sensitive, overreacting, complicated, weak nerves. But the truth is, they just hear more, feel more, live more honestly. And if this world were kinder, we wouldn't try to silence people like them. We'd let them breathe, let them be heard, let them live without having to hide their sacred senses. They don't need a place to speak. They just need a space safe enough where they don't have to feel everything all at once. That's why karmic Aries often keep their distance. They're not lonely, they're protecting space for themselves, so they don't lose themselves in the emotional chaos of others. I believe souls like this are bridges between earth and sky, not sent to perform miracles, but to become the miracle through the sensitivity they once tried to bury. And the strange thing is, that very sensitivity makes it impossible for anything around them to pretend. You can't lie to someone who sees what you haven't yet seen in yourself. You can't fake it with words when your eyes already betrayed your heart. You can't twist the truth when standing before a soul that won't allow distortion to survive too long. They don't have to yell. They don't need to expose anyone. They won't say, I know you're faking. They just stand there, and karma moves, because their energy is the embodiment of truth, and that light is something karma can't ignore. Not everyone is born with this, but if you're an Aries with this vibration, please don't treat your sensitivity as something broken. It's not a crack, it's the window where the light enters, and real light never has to shout to be seen. So what happens? When someone like this gets hurt, they don't scream, they don't seek revenge. They simply go still and let the universe handle what it must, because maybe it's time we face what no one wants to say out loud. There are Aries out there who never have to lift a finger because karma responds. The moment it brushes against them, hurting a kind person is wrong. But hurting a kind Aries, someone who carries the light of their soul, is like signing an invisible contract with karma. It doesn't matter if you believe in karma or not. You don't have to understand energy, the law of attraction, or vibration. Just notice this. So many people who once hurt this kind of Aries eventually fell apart. Not in one sudden moment, but slowly, layer by layer, like someone had quietly pulled the main pillar from within, and they didn't even realize it. These Aries don't fight back. They don't retaliate. They don't even speak. But then, your life begins to shift in ways you can't control. Opportunities vanish. People who trusted you start to walk away. Relationships that once held you up begin to feel cold, heavy, hollow, and you don't know why. I've been on the other side of that story. I once heard an Aries, never realizing how intensely her light could reflect back on me. I thought I could explain it away, justify it, move on, but the look she gave me, not angry, not accusing, became a mirror, forcing me to face the darkest part of myself. After that, I no longer recognized who I was, not because of anything she did, but because her light made it impossible for me to keep hiding. I had to face myself, and it was me who caused my own collapse. People often think karma is some kind of punishment from the outside, a car crash, a heartbreak, a sudden fall, but real karma doesn't come from out there. It comes from within, the moment you can no longer run from the truth, and this type of Aries is the one who awakens that moment. They're like sunlight streaming through a window. If your room is clean, you see the beauty. If your room is full of dust, the same light reveals every speck in the air. They don't try to expose anyone. They're just being real, and that truth is too pure for lies to stay near. In a world where people live behind roles, masks, and fake smiles, these Aries, the ones who carry karmic light, are a wake-up call. No shouting, no proving, they simply are, and that is enough. I once heard a story about a powerful man, cold, always the winner in every game, until the day he heard an Aries woman, a woman who never fought, never attacked. She just looked at him, with eyes too honest to ignore, and slowly, every good thing in his life began to slip away, as if life itself was peeling back the layers of success, built on the wrong foundation. No one knew what happened, only he knew, and he couldn't smile anymore. That doesn't make Aries dangerous. It makes them impossible to lie to, and in a world built on falsehood, their presence feels threatening, not to good people, but to things that aren't real. Don't mistake their silence for apathy. It's trust in divine order. They know that in a higher realm, justice is always at work, not through words, but through vibration. The universe doesn't respond to screaming, it responds to frequency, and this Aries carries a frequency strong enough to push what's wrong out. You can walk away from them, you can choose not to believe them, but you will be affected by them. They are a test, a line in the sand, a mirror, a light that forces you to choose. Either you live in truth, or you deal with the consequences from within. Many ask, why are these Aries so rare? I believe, because to carry this light, they've had to pay a price. It's not easy to keep your heart soft in a world that keeps trying to harden it. It's not easy to stay real when pretending is the easier way to survive. And the truth is, that kind of light comes with a cost. To see deeply is a kind of burden. To feel deeply is a quiet kind of pain. To understand too much is a double-edged sword that cuts your own heart every time you see someone choose the wrong path and still smile. Their presence makes karma stir, but they themselves can never stay still inside. They hear more, feel more, know more, and carry a kind of exhaustion that few people know how to name. Yes, karma doesn't live outside them, but the price is that their soul is always at war. A war between compassion and boundaries, between empathy and justice, between the light that wants to forgive and the truth that refuses to forgive the wrong person. That's what no one sees when they look at a quiet Aries. And that's what brings us to the next layer, where the cost of seeing too much isn't just emotional. It's physical, it's spiritual. It's the kind of pain that keeps you sitting in the dark at night, just trying to breathe, because the price of feeling, of knowing, of seeing through it all has never been cheap and never fully understood by the world. Not everyone is born with eyes that can see through someone's mask. Not everyone has ears sharp enough to hear the words left unsaid, and not everyone is awake enough to sense the moment something breaks before it actually breaks. And yet, some Aries, those carrying the light of karma, live with that ability every single day, not as a superpower, but as a natural breath, as a default setting of a nervous system that's always open, always scanning, always listening to the emotional current of the room, even when all they want is silence and peace. Seeing the truth is a gift, but it's also a brutal challenge, because truth doesn't always come wrapped in beauty. You see a smooth conversation. They feel the anger behind the other person's eyes. You see a group of happy friends. They feel someone's fake smile hiding abandonment. You see a picture-perfect life. They sense the hollow heart no one notices. The truth is, Aries like this live in a world with way more emotional data than others. And that's why they often feel exhausted. Not because they are weak, but because they're constantly absorbing energies that don't belong to them. They walk into a room and instantly adjust their frequency to keep the peace. They read everyone. They know who's avoiding who's hurting, who's not being honest. And without even meaning to, they become the emotional anchor for everyone around them, from the family dinner table to the meeting room to that random conversation on the street. They're rarely the ones asking for help, because everyone's so used to them being the helper. But no one asks, who's holding them? Who do they lean on? Who sees their storm when they're the ones holding space for everyone else's peace? One time, an Aries I deeply respect, with tears in her eyes, said, "Whenever I'm sad, I have to quickly reset my energy because I know if I fall apart, everyone around me will too." And that broke me, because I realized some souls aren't born to be rescued. They're born to be the rock others lean on, and when the rock starts to crack, no one notices. Living like that, they're often misunderstood, too sensitive, too intense, hard to approach. But the truth is, they're just trying to make things easier for everyone else. And the cost of that is their own breath getting shorter day by day. People like this rarely complain, because silence is their default mode, not because they don't need to talk, but because they know their pain might become too heavy for others to carry, and they can't bring themselves to do that. They're the type who, even when their heart is a mess, still offers you a soft smile. Even when they're falling apart, they text you, "Are you okay?" Even when they feel like disappearing, they show up so others won't feel alone. They are silent warriors, no sword, only light. They don't win with screams. They keep the peace with the quiet power of their presence. But even light flickers. It needs recharging. It needs space to breathe again. It needs a place where they don't have to play a role, don't have to hold anyone, don't have to fill the gaps others leave behind. If you're an Aries like this, remember, you don't have to keep carrying everything. No one was born to be the roof for every storm. Even the sun has to rest. Even light needs the safety of darkness to just be without needing to shine. The world needs you, but you need you too. Allow yourself to be tired, to be messy, to be not okay. You don't have to play the strong one all the time, because true light doesn't come from always burning bright, but from knowing when to go dark, so you can rise again at the right time. Living with a sensitive nervous system isn't easy, but when you learn how to manage your energy, set boundaries, release what's not yours, that same sensitivity becomes a magnetic force that can reshape reality. Because when an Aries is both sensitive and rooted, they don't just feel the world, they can shape it in the image their heart believes in. And that's when the magic begins, not from luck, but from a soul who knows exactly who they are. You don't need a textbook to believe some people attract exactly what they think about. Just watch an Aries who carries karmic energy, and you'll see it. When they believe something, it happens. When they want something, the universe starts rearranging. And when they are in pain, the whole world seems to shake just a little. No one taught them how to manifest. No one gave them a manual called How to Call in Miracles. They simply think, feel, believe, and things begin to shift. I once witnessed an Aries standing at rock bottom. No money, no support. No one believed in the path she chose. But she looked me in the eye and said so softly, "I still believe even if I see nothing, and I choose to believe, even when everyone tells me I'm wrong." Months later, the very thing she held onto became her reality, not a miracle, but a resonance so clear between faith and feeling that the universe simply couldn't ignore it. This kind of Aries doesn't need to meditate for hours. They don't need to read 100 spiritual books. They just need emotional clarity and a heart that's not distracted, because when they focus with their whole being, the universe hears them. Their emotions are living prayers, messages sent without words, frequencies strong enough to shake open doors that were never meant to open. But because of that, if they can't control their energy, they become the very ones who call in chaos. When they're confused, they attract confusion. When they are angry, they burn bridges that could have been crossed with forgiveness. When they are afraid, they write tragic endings in their minds before life even begins the next chapter. Because the universe doesn't judge. It doesn't pick sides. It just listens to frequency, and the frequency of Aries, it's loud, it's fast, it's high, so the response is almost instant. Just one moment of forgiveness and the energy around them becomes shockingly clear. The face of the person across from them softens. The tension in the air melts away. What once felt stuck unlocks itself. But if they are angry, the air turns thick. People around them get defensive. Every conversation feels like war, and they wonder, why doesn't anyone understand me? But in truth, it's the storm inside them, rewriting the script of everything they walk into. That doesn't make them bad, it just makes them powerful. So powerful, they must learn to wield that power with a soul that's been purified. I used to think, Healing began with forgiving others, but with Aries, I've come to realize healing begins somewhere else, with learning how to forgive themselves. Forgive the times they reacted from pain. Forgive the moments they trusted the wrong people. Forgive the ways they used anger to guard a heart that was simply too tender. Forgive themselves for forgetting they deserve peace, because only when Aries learns this lesson can their presence truly become a miracle. They stop calling in chaos. They stop living in nameless reactions. They start living with intention, with choice, with light guiding the way. The miracle was never out there. It lives inside them, in the sacred power Aries holds, the ability to feel and to shape reality through the purest energy of the heart. And when that's aligned, they no longer need approval, no titles, no stage, because they themselves are the living miracle, a prayer in human form, a light so steady, it shifts the rhythm of the entire room. Just by walking in and choosing to stay grounded, maybe the world won't say thank you to people like this, but life will always make way for them, because anyone living in tune with their soul's vibration is guided by something higher. And these people, without ever raising their hand, without ever asking for a crown, have already become the quiet, emotional leaders of a world breaking a little more each day. Not everyone with strong energy needs applause, and not everyone capable of leading chooses to stand in the spotlight. There's a rare kind of Aries. They don't enter your life trying to change the world. They simply live in truth, but somehow, their presence alone heals. No speeches, no plan, no clear reason. They are the quiet flame in a cold room, not burning, not shouting, just softly, silently, warming the air, warmer and warmer, so gently, you don't even notice until they're gone, and suddenly, the silence feels hollow. You'll realize they were the only one who saw you clearly, even when you said nothing. The only one who showed up without needing to be asked. The only one who kept a soft heart. Even after the world tried to harden them, they ask for nothing grand, no praise, no spotlight, not even to be understood. They only want to keep one thing, truth. In a world addicted to false masks, they choose to live honestly, even if it costs them. Loneliness, misunderstanding, invisibility. In relationships, they're not the loud ones, but when you hit rock bottom, they're the ones still standing beside you, not asking what happened. Just being there like a quiet rooftop in the middle of a storm. No judgment, no pressure to get back up. Only presence, gentle, steady, grounding. In love, they're not the best at flirting, but they remember. The little things you forgot you told them. They don't make big promises, but if they give their word, they'll keep it, even if no one reminds them. At work, in communities, in chaotic places filled with noise and emotions, they're the ones tuning the frequency, the quiet calibrators, holding things together not with power but with intuition, not with orders but with kindness. You won't always notice them, but you'll feel the difference when they're gone, because Aries like this don't wait for invitations. They sense where light is needed, and they arrive just to warm it and quietly leave again. This world today is full of voices shouting to be seen, but so few who can truly listen soul to soul, few who can step into a room and shift its energy just by being. These Aries, they don't lead with words but with the calm force of their energy. The first to feel when something's off, the last to leave only when they're sure everyone else is okay. Never chasing glory, yet leaving a mark that cannot be erased. Maybe they were born to keep humanity human. And if you're hearing this, if you recognize yourself in these quiet truths, know this. You're not invisible, you're not alone, you're not too different. You are part of the soul group born to hold the light when the rest of the world runs toward the noise. You are the whisper in the echo chamber, the candle in the long night, the answer to someone's long-forgotten prayer. Thank you for listening, for taking a moment to touch the deeper layers of yourself. If you're this kind of Aries, the world needs you more than you know, not to do more. Just to keep being you, and that light, even if small, might be just enough to help someone else find their way in the dark. I hope you always have enough light to walk your own path and enough softness to never lose your heart in this noisy world. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to return to yourself and keep being the quiet flame, warming the world around you.